It's hard to point to a single moment where things fell apart. It wasn't some dramatic scene or one-night shift. It was quieter, slower. Like a slow leak behind the wall, by the time you notice it, the damage is already deep. We were in the living room. She was curled up on the couch, phone in hand. I had just come in from work, still wearing my dress shirt, my laptop bag slung over one shoulder. I asked her something simple, hey, wanna hang out later? Maybe pick up the show we started. She didn't even look up. Eyes glued to her screen. No reaction. Then she finally glanced at me and said it, I'm not your entertainment. Just like that. Calm. Chilly. Like she'd rehearsed it. No irritation, no raised voice, just finality. I stood there, stunned for a second, like maybe I'd misheard. But she followed it up with more. I'm not here to fill your time or fix your boredom. I don't exist just because you need me to. That hit hard. Because I wasn't asking for much. I wasn't chasing her around the house or trying to guilt her into anything. I just wanted us. Something small that still felt like we mattered. She tossed her phone beside her like the conversation was over. Back to scrolling. Like I'd just interrupted her playlist or a podcast, not tried to connect. I probably responded with something weak. Maybe a joke, trying to cut the tension. Something dumb to pretend it wasn't as bad as it felt. But her body language said it all, she was done. Not just with the talk. With me. And honestly, this wasn't new. I'd seen the signs. Months of them. Maybe even years. She started hiding her phone more. Going out dressed like she was auditioning for something, but at home she barely changed out of sweats. Conversations felt like negotiations. Every idea I shared was met with either sarcasm or silence. Intimacy had faded from natural to forced to non-existent. She blamed hormones, stress, work. I wanted to believe her. We'd been married 9 years. Life isn't a constant honeymoon. I figured we'd push through. But she wasn't pushing anything. She was already halfway out the door emotionally. And the part that cut deepest? I still loved her. I really did. Even when she treated me like background noise. Even when she started using words like independent and free like they were daggers aimed at everything we'd built. At first, I was proud. Proud she was finding herself. Proud she was speaking up. But then I realized she wasn't growing. She was leaving. I was the one who pushed her to take that online branding course. Cheered her on when she started freelancing, even helped her pick out new outfits when she said she wanted a fresh look. I backed her every step when she got back into yoga, when she started talking about leveling up. But somewhere in the middle of all that self-reinvention, she decided I was the baggage she needed to cut loose. One night, I was sitting on the back porch with my brother, drinking a beer. He asked, when was the last time you two just talked? Really talked? I couldn't answer. Not honestly. She used to tell me everything. I knew what made her laugh, what stressed her out, even the little things, how her boss chewed too loud or the smell of her favorite candle. Yeah? I'd ask how her day went and get a vague fine without even a glance up from her phone. And I wasn't blind. I saw the shift. There was distance. Not just emotional, but in her tone, in her movements. Her excuses felt preloaded, like she'd already rehearsed them in her head. There was this low-level contempt in her voice anytime I asked something as small as, can we eat dinner together tonight? Still, I tried. I brought back little habits we used to love, left a handwritten note on her pillow one night. Just a line about missing her, hoping we could reconnect. She didn't mention it. A week later, I found it crumpled under the nightstand. Like it had slipped off and she never bothered to pick it up, or worse, didn't care it was there. Then came the moment. I'm not your toy, she said. Cold. Detached. And suddenly everything made sense. She didn't just want space. She wanted total separation, freedom without accountability. That night, after she went to bed without so much as a good night, I just sat on the couch. No TV. No phone. Just silence. It was like sitting in the wreckage of something that used to be a home. She wanted freedom? Fine. I gave it to her. No fight. No speeches. Just quiet withdrawal. I stopped reminding her about trash day. Quit folding her laundry. No more 2 mugs of coffee in the morning. I didn't check the mailbox for her packages or make sure her car was up to date on maintenance. Not as payback. Not even out of anger. It just didn't make sense anymore. She had made it clear I wasn't part of her life. So I stepped out of it. At first, I don't think she noticed. Or maybe she did, but didn't care. She walked around the house like a motivational speaker in the middle of a book tour. Started wearing clothes I hadn't seen since we were dating, tight, polished, curated. But it wasn't for me. It was for the mirror. Maybe even for someone else watching through her phone. Yoga came back into her life, but this wasn't the peaceful, early morning kind she used to love. This was high-intensity, influencer-driven hot yoga at a studio where cameras were as common as mats. Next thing I know, she's sipping matcha at 3 p.m. talking about releasing the toxic masculine residue in the house. I didn't even ask what that meant. I just nodded. Because deep down, I already knew whatever we had was gone. I guess that made me the toxic one. At least in her mind. But instead of arguing, I just backed off completely. No more passive-aggressive comments. No sarcasm. Just silence. I started hitting the gym after work, not rolling in until 8 or later some nights. Dinner? I stopped asking if she wanted any. If I cooked, it was for one. One plate. One seat at the table. She never acknowledged the things I used to do, so I stopped doing them. No more folded laundry. No more reminders. Just me in my own lane. And for a while, I think she enjoyed the new arrangement or thought she did. She had her space, her solo dinners, her endless scrolling marathons on the couch with no interruptions. No one reaching out for a hug or asking how her day went. No one even looking her way. I'd become background noise. No, less than that, I was invisible. But freedom isn't always what you think it is. Like the night her car battery died. She was out there in the driveway, arms folded tight, wearing that cropped hoodie she claimed was cozy but barely covered her. She called me while I was mid-shower. Straight to voicemail. Then she sent a text, "Car won't start. Come help me." I saw it. Read it once. Then again. Then a third time. And for the first time in years, I chose not to respond. I finished my shower, took my time, and didn't walk through the front door until nearly an hour later. She was sitting at the dining table, arms crossed, humidity frizzing her hair, trying to look unbothered but failing. "You saw my message," she said, flat and cold. I did. Silence. "You said you wanted to handle things yourself." She didn't answer. Just looked down and started scrolling through her phone like conflict was beneath her. But I noticed her hands were trembling. The next day, she locked herself out. I was at work. She had to call a locksmith. $180. Found the receipt balled up in the trash can that night. Then came the groceries. She forgot the dog was out of food. He went 2 days without eating properly. The dishes stacked up, the bathroom sink started backing up, and that low hum in the garbage disposal turned into a full-on grind and screech. She emailed the landlord. Problem was, we own the house. I watched all of it unfold. Not out of spite. Not because I wanted her to crash. But because, for the first time, she was staring at the reality I'd carried alone for years. All those little threads, things she never saw, never thought twice about, those were the glue. And without me pulling those threads tight, everything started to unravel. She vented to a friend, I think it was Fiona. I wouldn't have known, but she left her phone unlocked on the coffee table when she went to the bathroom. A message popped up, "He's so cold. I think he's trying to punish me." Punish her? No. She punished herself the day she pushed me out and expected me to keep orbiting her life like a satellite, forever nearby, always available, never centered. She mistook my commitment for dependency. Thought all those quiet acts of care were just me being needy. But when I pulled back, stopped doing the invisible things she never acknowledged, it hit her, they weren't invisible after all. 3 weeks in, the tone shifted. I came home late from the gym. The house was spotless. Candles flickering on the counter, soft jazz floating from the Bluetooth speaker. The smell of something real, not microwaved or takeout, filled the kitchen. She'd made dinner. Chicken. Roasted vegetables. A glass of wine already poured, sitting at my spot like it used to be. She stood by the sink, watching me come in. Not a word. Just waiting. I grabbed a glass of water, took the plate, and walked into the living room without a second glance. Sat down. Ate in silence. She followed, arms folded, hovering in the doorway. "You're really not going to say anything?" she asked. I looked up. "What exactly do you want me to say?" "I don't know, something?" I gave her a long, steady look. Not cold. Not hostile. Just worn down. "You said you weren't my toy. That you didn't owe me anything. So I stopped expecting anything from you. Figured you wanted space." She blinked. And for the first time in weeks, I saw it. That flicker. Regret. That was the pivot point. After that night, she began to change. Slowly. Like someone waking from a long nap and pretending they weren't asleep. Smiles that seemed a little too polished. A gentle brush on the shoulder that lingered just long enough to make me wonder if it meant something. But I didn't lean in. Didn't reciprocate. I just watched. She cooked dinner 2 nights in a row. Washed the dishes without being asked. Sent a midday text, "Hope your day's going well." The last time she sent something like that, we still shared a real connection. At first, I thought maybe the silence had worked. Maybe she finally realized what she'd chipped away at all those months. what she'd taken for granted. But something felt rehearsed. Like she was trying to remember how to be what she used to be but kept fumbling the lines. Then I noticed the shift. Her phone, always in her pocket, always screen down. The screen would flicker before she touched it, like she was checking messages before I could see. She'd take it to the bathroom. Laugh behind closed doors. The kind of laugh that isn't casual, it's intimate. Patterns. Same ones from before. I didn't go digging. I wasn't trying to catch her. But I'd seen the cycle already, and it was back. Quick runs to the store for wine that never made it home. Quiet calls she'd take on the porch. Little things that don't scream betrayal, but whisper it. And then the voice. One night, she stepped outside to take a call. Forgot her Bluetooth was still synced to the living room speaker. I was on the couch. The music stopped. Then his voice came through. Calm. Smooth. Way too familiar. You know, the man's voice said through the speaker, you don't have to keep pretending. If you're not happy, don't stay just because it's easy. And then her laugh. Not the forced chuckle I'd gotten used to. The real one. Light. Playful. That laugh I hadn't heard in months. I'm not pretending, she said, her voice lower now. I'm just playing it smart. He's finally pulling back. I just need a little more time. I didn't feel rage. Not then. Just a hollow kind of ache. Then silence. She must have realized the Bluetooth was still connected and cut the call. When she walked back in, she looked right at me and smiled. Like nothing had happened. Like I hadn't just heard her lay out a blueprint for replacing me like outdated furniture. She went upstairs. I stayed on the couch, frozen, that voice still rattling around in my head. Took me almost an hour to place it. Caleb. Her friend. The guy who ran her yoga studio. The one she said was like a brother. Emotional support, she called him. Said he was safe, spiritual. I'd met him once, maybe twice. Beaded bracelets, oils, always smelled like a spa and spoke in tones like every sentence was a guided meditation. And apparently he knew way more about my marriage than I did. I didn't confront her. Not that night. Not even the next day. I was done arguing with people who'd already decided their version of the story. But this time I didn't just withdraw emotionally. I started preparing. Pulled our bank records. Backed up devices. Made copies of documents. I remembered that old cloud account, one I'd set up for her tablet when she worked from home. She never logged out of iMessage. I didn't go digging for everything. Just enough. Enough to know how far it had gone. How many late-night texts she sent him venting about me. How often he replied like some new age predator cloaked in mindfulness quotes, telling her she deserved better, calling me her emotional jailer. And yeah, it wasn't just words. The messages turned physical about 3 weeks before. I saw the photos. The emojis. The timestamps. But what hit hardest wasn't the sexting. It was the planning. This wasn't some random emotional spiral. It was orchestrated. He'd been feeding her this storyline for months. Nudging every disagreement, every bump in the road, turning them into evidence of how oppressed she was. Whispering in her ear like a villain out of a low-budget romance novel wrapped in essential oils and incense. And she soaked it all in. Because it gave her a narrative. One where she was the misunderstood hero. The caged soul. The phoenix about to rise from the ashes of her repressive marriage. And the joke? I was the one paying for it all. The classes. The retreats. The wellness sessions. All funded by me. Because I thought I was supporting her healing. I sat with that truth for 2 days. No explosions. No shouting. Just silence. Because sometimes when a dam breaks, the loudest thing is what doesn't get said. I didn't drink. Didn't scream. Didn't cry. I just let it settle in. Like a bruise forming slow under the surface, deep, invisible at first, but real all the same. And then I made a plan. I think she expected me to explode. Maybe that's what Caleb coached her for. That once the truth surfaced, I'd lose it. Shout. Break things. Make it easy for her to play the victim. But I didn't give her that. I gave her nothing. The morning after I heard the call and saw the messages, I went silent. Not passive-aggressive. Not icy. Just absent. No reminders about bills. No check-ins about groceries. If I bought anything, it was for me. No questions. No smiles. No small talk. I wore headphones around the house. She asked if I wanted to watch something together. I told her I'd already started a new show. She cooked dinner. I ate alone. Quiet. Detached. Like we were strangers stuck under the same roof by a lease neither of us had the guts to break. And it rattled her. She wasn't used to silence carrying weight. She started poking, trying to stir something. Picking fights over dishes, over nothing. You're shutting me out. You're punishing me emotionally. Are you even trying anymore? I kept my replies short. Calm. Neutral. Then, I stopped replying altogether. One night she came home late from the studio. I was already in bed, lights off. I wasn't asleep, just still. I heard her stop at the doorway. I heard the sigh. I knew she wanted a moment, an argument, a breakdown, anything. She got silence. And that silence? It started eating her alive. By the end of the week, Caleb's texts slowed. I saw it all on the cloud backup. The long, syrupy paragraphs turned into dry, one-liners. Busy. Talk later. Don't overthink it. The same guy who used to call her a goddess now couldn't string together more than a sentence. She started leaving her phone face up again. Checking it constantly. Like bait. Waiting for me to react. I didn't. Then came the shift. The old routine came back. Soft voice. Playful touches. She started acting like a wife again. She asked if I wanted to grab dinner. Just to talk, she said. Told me she missed how things used to be. She even wore the perfume I gave her 2 anniversaries ago. The one she once dismissed as too much. I told her I had other plans. She just stood there. Didn't cry. Didn't lash out. But her face said it all. Not guilt. Not remorse. Panic. Because for the first time she was no longer in control of the story. It wasn't Caleb that broke her. It was the moment she realized I didn't care anymore. There's a certain fear that creeps in when someone loses control over the person they thought they could always keep on a leash. That fear was all over her face. She started asking those loaded questions. The kind that sound casual but aren't. Are you seeing someone? No. Then why are you acting like this? Like what? Like you're done. I just looked at her. No speech. No dramatics. That silence told her everything. She knew. Not because I said it, but because I didn't have to. The switch had flipped. The cord had been cut. She tried one last move. That weekend, she suggested we take a short trip. Just us, she said. Reconnect. I nodded. Let her book the hotel. Let her pack the bags. I even helped carry her suitcase downstairs. Then 2 hours before we were supposed to leave, I handed her a sealed envelope and walked out the front door. Inside? A signed separation agreement. Clean. Quiet. Fair. She called my name, stunned. Like the idea of consequences had just now occurred to her. Like everything before this had been a dress rehearsal and now the lights were too bright to ignore. But I didn't stop. I spent that weekend at my brother's place. Sat on his dock with a cold beer, watched the sky shift from orange to purple in complete silence. The kind of quiet I hadn't felt in years. When I came back Sunday night, the house was spotless. She was in jeans and a t-shirt. No makeup. No perfume. The papers were on the kitchen island. Signed. I don't want this, she said softly. You wanted freedom, I replied. Not like this. That's when I looked at her. Really looked. Not as my wife. Not as the person who used to fall asleep tucked under my arm. But as a stranger. A stranger who had carefully, step by step, made herself into one. You got exactly what you asked for. She opened her mouth to explain, to spin it, to rewrite the script one more time. But the words never came. She just stood there, arms heavy at her sides, looking at a version of me she couldn't reach anymore. Then, almost too quiet to hear, she whispered. I made a mistake. And maybe that was the most honest thing she'd said in months. But it didn't feel good. It didn't feel like justice or closure. It just was. 2 days later, she signed the separation papers. I got home from work and there it was, an envelope on the kitchen counter. Her wedding ring sitting on top, still warm, like it had just left her hand. No note. No goodbye. Just silence. By morning, she was gone. I didn't ask where. Didn't text. Didn't call. She left behind more than I expected. Closet half full. Bottles of perfume still lined up in the bathroom. One of her sweaters draped over the back of her favorite chair. I didn't touch any of it. Just let it sit. Fading. In the weeks that followed, a few texts trickled in. Nothing dramatic. No please. Just little threads she tried to keep tied. Hope you're okay. Let me know if you need anything signed. I miss our routines. I responded once. Take care of yourself. That was it. And I think that cut deeper than anything I could have yelled. Because it wasn't that I didn't care. I just had nothing left to give. Not to someone who treated my love like a battery, something to drain and toss once it stopped lighting up her world. Caleb? He vanished within a week of her moving out. She found out through a mutual friend that he'd reconnected with an old flame. Turns out the whispered sweet nothings were just background noise to him, something to fill the space. He told someone she was too much. Intense, he called her. Poetic. He fed her exactly what she craved: validation, spotlight, novelty. And when it got real, when she needed substance, he left. No loyalty. No explanation. No slow fade. And unlike me, he didn't give her years. He gave her moments. There was no satisfaction in that. Not really. But there was symmetry. After that, her text stopped. Her name stopped lighting up my screen. The cloud account deactivated. The house got quieter. Then lighter. I kept waiting for the hollow feeling. But it never came. What came instead was clarity. Like I'd walked out of a fog I didn't realize I'd been breathing for years. I started filling the silence with pieces of myself I'd shelved. Old playlists. My camera. Coffee that didn't taste like tension. Lunches with friends. Long walks. More calls with my brother. And one day it finally clicked. You can love someone fully and still understand they were wrong for you. That's the truth no one tells you. That walking away doesn't mean you stopped caring. It just means you finally started caring about yourself. A few months later, I saw her in the wine aisle at the store. She was holding that red blend she always loved. She froze when she saw me. Smiled soft, uncertain. You look good, she said. Thanks. There was a pause. One of those long, heavy ones that fills up the air like fog. Then, barely above a whisper, she said, I didn't think you'd actually go through with it. I looked at her. You told me you weren't my toy, I said. So I stopped playing. She nodded. Slow. Like that line had been sitting in her chest this whole time, waiting to be heard. We didn't say goodbye. We didn't linger. I turned and walked away. And for the first time in years, I didn't look back.